Hello there. Good to see you guys. Hey, today I want to talk about, are you still yelling? Have you ever asked a young child, or an older child for that matter, to do something and they acted like they didn't hear you? Been there, done that, right? Then you say it again, a little louder. Sometimes they get it and sometimes they don't. Before you know it, you're saying it again and your voice is elevated and you're yelling. And all of a sudden, your child does what you asked them to do. I'm going to talk about that today and why they waited until the third time you said it to do something about it. Hi, my name is Anita Gibson. I am a coach, speaker, educational strategist, and the author of the book Starfinder. And today I want you to think about the question, are you still yelling? And I say still because it's a subject that I've talked about before, and I just wanted to check back in and see how you guys are doing with that. So when my children were young, I yelled a lot. I needed to have a level of control, and I didn't understand that I didn't need to yell in order to get it. Let me give you an example. When you are flying down the Beltway and the speed limit is 55 and you're going 70, and all of a sudden you see the police lights behind you, what do? Most of us will simply pull over. We'll stay in our car. We may look for our registration, make sure we have our driver's license, because we know that we were going 70 in a 55-mile zone. We don't, the police officer, when he pulls up behind us, he's not yelling, be still, or normally. You're living in some different days. He doesn't have to put his bullhorn on to get us to pull over. He doesn't have to do anything aggressive. We just know that when a policeman is behind you, you just pull over, even if you don't think you've done anything wrong. And why do we do that? Because we acknowledge his authority. And I think sometimes as moms, we don't realize or remember that we have been given God-given authority to train up our children, and that they will listen to us because of that. But we have to make sure that we are connecting, communicating with them in the right way. So in order to communicate with them in the right way, it takes a little more time. It also takes a little more focus from us. And I think sometimes we don't have time for that, or we think we don't. But I'm here this day to tell you that if you want to get the frustration out of your day and you want to figure out a way to stop yelling, first of all, it's a habit. And once you get into it, it can be difficult to break. But as one who yelled all the time, I'm here to tell you it is a habit that you can move out of. And what I was able to do was to realize that if I have to tell my child something 3 times, then the problem is not them, as I'm thinking, it's me. Because obviously my expectation, consciously or subconsciously, is that they are not going to move until the 3rd time I say it. That's what I really expect, and that's what they really expect. And that's why they don't move until I'm yelling or I've said it 4 or 5 times, because I've set up a pattern that I don't really mean it until I've said it this many times. And so in my life, when I realized I had that pattern, I actually went to my children and I apologized to them for not being as focused as I needed to be when I was given instruction. I apologized and I let them know that we were going to do things differently. And I was going to take the time to make sure, one, they were listening to me. We were going to turn off electronics and TV. I learned turn that stuff off before I start giving instruction. Make sure I had their attention. And then give them small instructions. Not, I want you to do this, and then I want you to do that, and then I want you to do this. One thing at a time. Ask them to say back to me, did you hear what I said? Can you explain to me what I said? Good morning, Shiva. And then once they explained to me, I was sure they got it. Then I said, okay, now go do what it is that you need to do. It took a lot of discipline for me to break out of the yelling thing, because I realized that I did not want them to be motivated by my voice being elevated. I needed them to begin to have a motivation from within, because this is what happened for me. For those of you who have younger children, when my children began to get older as teenagers, the mechanism for them to do the right things came from outside of them, because I was a yeller. And so they jumped, or they did what I told them to do because, oh, mommy's upset. But I never taught them how to internalize obedience and to do it and to train themselves to have discipline. And so when they got older, they would just sneak and do things, hoping that I wouldn't find out, because they didn't get that internal clock that said, no, this is not right. I'm not going to do that. And so I had to rethink, what am I doing? And as I began to bring my voice down and my focus up, I was able to get them to respond to me the first time, because that's what I expected. And I didn't get so busy that I asked them to do things and then move on to something else. I had to learn that when I ask them to do something, and I actually expect them to do it when I ask them, that I have to stay with that process to make sure that they do. And as I began to understand that that was my responsibility, to teach them inner control, inner discipline, not needing this outside force that's yelling and pushing you to do something, but that you need to begin to have an inner desire to do what you're asked, and not because someone's yelling at you. Because the other thing I realized is the moment I started yelling, especially if it was something that they were doing that was not good or right, or I was correcting something, what I began to realize is the moment I yelled, it took the focus off of whatever the activity or the behavior was that they had, and it turned the attention to my yelling. And in my kids' mind, they were able to say, listen to mommy, how mean she's being. And they could focus in on, that's not right how she said that to me, or maybe that's not even true what she's saying. And they would get so involved in the wrongness of what I was doing, they wouldn't even look at themselves and what it was, the behavior that was so out of whack. And I think that's just human nature. I don't think we really want to look at ourselves and our stuff. And so the moment I start yelling, it gives them actually permission to not focus on their own life and their own heart and their own behavior. And so what I noticed, that's right, Shiva, verify. It takes time though. And most of us are so busy doing so many things. We have to learn how to slow down enough, give space in our life so we can begin to verify. Because the beauty is once we get it and once they get it and they begin to listen to us and obey the first time, it actually takes less time because I don't have to say it 4 and 5 times. Good morning, MK. And so one of the things that I learned was, yes, Shiva's saying that it teaches them to be accountable if they know you are going to check. I mean, and that's really human nature, right? I think we all need that accountability. And what happens is then we get mad at them when I ask you to do blah, 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 wash the dishes, mop the floor, get your homework done, and then you didn't do it. as I spun off into my 20 other things I needed to do. And then I come back and I'm asking you, why didn't you get so and so done? And the truth is, we're focused in on them, but it's really our issue because they needed that accountability. And we know they need it because they didn't get done what we needed to get done. And it's not that they're just lazy or they're not focused. They need help. That's why they have us. And so, good morning, Erica. And so one of the things that I began to understand is when I'm yelling, the focus is on me. They're not able to focus on themselves. And so when I brought my tone down, when I was able just to speak to them in a normal tone, and I had to work on that, we got some heart conversations done. And we were able to focus in on some things that were going on. And I was able to really go in deep with them because there was no hindrance. They were able to take a look at themselves. Good morning, Junk Sub. They were able to take a look at themselves, at their own hearts, and be able to say, I'm sorry, Mommy. I did. That was wrong, what I did. And so as I began to realize that I have more power than I think I do, as I began to remember that just like the policeman has the authority to pull people over and all he has to do is turn on his lights, that I as a parent have been given authority by God to discipline my children without yelling at them. If I am yelling as a parent, I hate to say this, but I learned that I was out of control. I was out of control. And so as I began to understand that the yelling made them have an outside force to respond to, it did not teach them how to have internal discipline. I almost made a critical error. I'm so thankful I figured it out just as my kids were going into the teenage years, because I think I would have had I'm not telling you we didn't have challenges, but I think our challenges would have been more difficult because they would have only obeyed and done things while we were watching. And while there was somebody that was looking and seeing what they were doing, and they would have been sneaking and doing other things because we never taught them how to discipline from the inside. And did it take a lot more time? It absolutely did in the beginning. But when I was able to apologize to them, I am so sorry. I'm sorry for raising my voice. I'm sorry for yelling. I'm sorry for not always listening, to what it is that you need to tell me. And I'm sorry for not always being focused in on what I asked you to do. Like Shiva said earlier, not giving that accountability to you. And my children were so gracious. Oh, they would hug me and, oh, Mommy, it's okay. And we're going to do this thing together. And so I was able to move away from the yelling. And I realized I yelled in a lot of different areas to get control. But it wasn't what was needed, because I need them to want to control themselves. And so what I did, I'll tell you guys again, I would first of all got myself together. So to recognize and acknowledge yelling is not good, is not the best way to get my children motivated to do the things I want them to do. 2, turn off the electronics. Make sure I have their undivided attention. Even say, okay, I need you to turn that off in 5 minutes because I have some things I want to tell you. Giving them space to prepare for the transition to, okay, Mommy's going to say some things. And then getting their undivided attention as I share with them, we're going out today. I need you to go find your shoes and put those things away that you have right there. Very short instruction. And watch to see that they get it done. And then encourage them. Man, you are awesome. You did that right away when I asked you to. And then move on to whatever the next instruction is that I needed to give them. I force myself to slow down because I'm a rabbit. I like this. I can think about 5 different things at the same time. Well, everybody can't do that. And many times children can't focus in on too many things. And then I'm yelling at them because I didn't communicate well with them because I wasn't focused. It wasn't them. It was me. And so my question today is, are you still yelling? I want you to know that you don't have to yell in order to get the job done. And you can get to your child's heart so they can hear yours when you bring your voice down. Because sometimes yelling is even about fear, because we're afraid this is going to happen or that is going to happen. Well, the child, he misinterprets that. And they think it's about them and that somehow they're not good enough or they're not, what you need them to be. And so discipline must be done, but it has to be done without yelling. And so you guys, if you have any questions or thoughts, feel free to post them. I want you to know that I have a book called Star Finder. And it was originally written for parents who have students that are struggling. However, as I have been talking about it and talking with people, there are many people that are using my book just for training up their children, because the truth is a struggling student needs the same thing a student who isn't struggling needs. And so there are strategies in my book that will help you to be able to train up your child in a way that helps them to stand and be the adult that God has called them to be. And so you can get it on Amazon. If you put my name in, Anita Gibson, it'll pop up. Or you can get it directly from me, and I can autograph it for you at bit.ly/Be a Star Finder. All one word. That's bit.ly/Be a Star Finder. And so I leave you today, and I'm excited about how you guys are going to move through. And if anything I said helped, if you're going to try something new, and just let me know, inbox me, or in the next video, share with me how things worked out and how you're able to begin to even more deeply get to your child's heart as you're able to focus them and help them to hear you without yelling. Love you guys. Take care.